Whenever a game reaches a certain level of popularity or success in the gaming market, it's not uncommon to see many copycat titles that use the same original game's designs and refresh it, making something new or different in the process. The Dark Souls series would be a good example of this, in that its long history of making hit titles has caused a whole genre of games to be created by dozens of other studios, called Souls-likes. This phenomenon applies too in the case of One Lonely Outpost, in which the developers describe as a sci-fi colonization life sim, in which your job is to terraform and colonize the far-off barren planet of Calypso for the Pan-Galactic Parliament, or PGP for short. In-game, you will find many mechanics that you would find in other popular life sim titles, such as Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley. You've got farming, mining, cooking, fishing, bug catching, colony management, and other activities that come with being a Star Steward, as is your title in the game. That, coupled with simple but detailed pixelated graphics and a relaxing soundtrack, make for a fun and stress-free experience that checks off a lot of boxes for a lot of different gamers. But the incredibly slow pacing of the early game, coupled with an empty and boring start, creates a rather negative first impression, and will definitely cause quite a few people to not bother seeing this game through to the end. However, that might be by design, as it's not easy to bring a dead world back to life, especially one as dead as Calypso. Let's talk about the story first. As I mentioned, the whole reason you're here is to make Calypso into a living planet again, and not just a dead rock. How you were initially going to do that, by yourself, I don't know. But after first landing and exploring the surrounding area, you come across abandoned alien ruins that slowly come online as you repair them, and doing so allows the aliens to basically terraform the whole planet for you. This happens over the course of several in-game weeks, so as you're farming and mining away at chunks of minerals, you'll slowly watch the sand-covered surface turn into a garden of plants and animals, in addition to dissolving pockets of frozen lakes, making it easier to water your crops. While it's definitely a cool concept, and very interesting to watch unfold, it cripples the early game, as you can only mine chunks of rock and water each of your crops manually over and over and over again, for several days until the terraforming is complete. This means that later mechanics in the game, like fishing and catching bugs, won't be available until like day 20, when you can actually progress the story far enough along. Now this makes sense, as advancing the story makes the planet habitable, causing colonists to be sent to your planet, which all have special skills that let you go fishing and bug catching. Still, it sucks that you can't do most of the fun stuff until after you play the game for about 3 to 4 hours. So a word of advice, if you want to access everything the game has to offer, finish the main story as quickly as possible before everything else, as it unlocks all the side activities, plus attracts all of your colonists to the planet as well. And on the subject of colonists, the studio did a fairly good job of making most of them feel both helpful to the player and like a real person with a history and personality before coming here. In this first act of the early access build, you can acquire 10 colonists, each with their own spaceship and skill set. As they touch down, you are introduced to them and given a short summary of what they bring to the table. An example of this is Aaron Rodriguez, who was the first colonist to show up, and he's your main electrical engineer, who handles most of the intricate machinery and electrical equipment of the colony. Now this doesn't translate to much gameplay-wise, but he does help you repair your robotic pet cat QWERTY, who you start with at the beginning of the game, which immediately makes him a boon to your whole operation. He also tends to be pretty compassionate and helpful to the other colonists, since he grew up with 2 other brothers and a kind, doting father before coming here. This kind of backstory can be found in all the other colonists, which honestly brings more life to the planet than the plants and animals do themselves. However, the actual times you interact with them outside of the main story is extremely limited. This is probably something that Freedom Games will address later on, but outside of a few colonists that sell you things and the weekly gifts you hand out to them, you don't really converse or go on any adventures with anyone at all. It's not a major issue, but it does hinder the development of any real connections between the player and anyone else on the planet. There is optional romance that you can pursue with most of the colonists, but I didn't explore this very much, since I wanted to wait and see who I liked the most before choosing. Therefore, the majority of your time will be spent on the other various minigame-like activities you have on Calypso. In order to better service your colony, you can grow and develop your own personal farmstead, harvesting crops and selling them out to the galaxy, or cooking them into meals with varying effects. The farming process is rather simple. You till the soil, then you plant seeds of the crop you want, Then you water the soil once a day, and that's it. Rinse and repeat until the crops fully mature and are ready to harvest. Not the most complex system, but each crop does have varying times until they are fully grown, so you do have to plan out how much you need to tie yourself over until the next harvest. Now, having a farm tends to attract bugs, but a simple gust of wind to blow them away tends to do the trick, so it's not really challenging and more of a hindrance than anything else. Aside from that, you can build certain farm equipment to automatically water the crops for you every day, and there's a healthy amount of different crops you can grow to really spruce up your front lawn. You can also capture bugs and fish later on, which boasts at least 20 different species currently for your collection. This can be combined with your crops for meals or given to the colonists as gifts, but again feels very surface level and oversimplified as an activity. Also, in relation to cooking, most of the meals do the same thing and just refill your energy bar at different levels, which is basically a stamina bar that refills at the start of every day. So I'm not really encouraged to diversify my crop portfolio or chase after certain critters. Still, it is satisfying to collect a large pile of food all at once after a week or so of constant watering and maintaining of the farm, so it accomplishes its main goal, I'd say. Plus, you are given a personal database that logs all the info you have on each plant you come across, as well as minerals, animals, and other collectibles you find on the planet, which makes it easy to review important details whenever you need to. Outside of that, you can dive underground and go mining for minerals in this game's version of Minesweeper. Only instead of mines, this game replaces them with mining hazards like toxic gas to keep you moving. It serves its purpose and keeps you engaged, but once again doesn't have the most complex approach. It does help that while moving around the map and interacting with these various minigames, you have a unique soundtrack that changes depending on what you're doing. My personal favorite is the slow, soft flute and harp melody whenever you're trying to catch fish. Take a listen. Definitely something I could fall asleep to. And fortunately, they have the soundtrack available for purchase separately on Steam as well, so they already knew this was going to be a banger. But anyways, the music and graphics were the last thing I wanted to talk about, as it really is the glue that binds this whole package together. Whenever I boot this game up and start playing, it feels like I'm playing one of the old school Pokemon games like Diamond and Pearl, with the animated pixel characters moving around a large 3D world, blending the two art styles together wonderfully. That, in addition to the easygoing music, makes me just want to start walking around, enjoying the sights and sounds this game has to offer me. It really elevates the experience from a basic farming game into a unique take on the life sim genre that clearly pulls inspiration from many other games that came before. So now let's answer the usual questions I like to ask in my reviews. First, is the game fun? Yes. While the pacing is a bit slow, and the assortment of arcade-like minigames could use a little more originality, the relaxed and welcoming atmosphere makes for fun game sessions in short bursts. Second, is the game currently worth the price of $20? If you're into farming games, yes, but everyone else, probably not. This game definitely has at least 20 hours of solid content, mostly because it time gates a lot of the mechanics behind a storyline. But if you're not into the farming or life sim niche of games, then you're going to struggle to enjoy your time here. However, the devs had said that this is only the first act planned for the game, and there are several unreachable zones on the world map when you're playing, so that makes me confident that One Lonely Outpost and the planet Calypso still has plenty more to show us in the future, and hopefully we get to experience that with all of our new and old colonist friends we make along the way. But that's all I wanted to say in this review, so now tell me what you guys think. Is this game a solid first release for Freedom Games? Is QWERTY the cutest cat in the universe? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and leave a like if this review was helpful for you in any way. Thank you again for watching the video, and goodbye.